On this episode of the Speak Easies,
You don't know everything, but you know some things.
in first grade, when it all came crashing down.
I don't know. I just made that up. Maybe it'll be a proverb, maybe it won't.
All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Speak Easies. I'm Grady Thomson, as always. You got Cade and Polo with me. I was thinking this past week. I mean, I have a lot of time to think, so I just think of all kinds of stuff. But I was thinking about, sort of related to our episode about cultivating the best personality trait in a person. I was considering what is the best time to be alive in your life? Like what's the best age that you can be? And I was thinking about it, and I sort of um, decided it based off of like freedom and independence and potential. So this potential is assuming you are an average, healthy human being, um, mentally, physically, whatnot. So that's what I based it off of, and it's all and the potential. Excuse me, and the freedom and independence is just your ability to sort of make your own choices. And I just um, I said that independence and freedom basically pretty much it goes up as you age, um, because as you get older you become more you can rely on yourself more, you can provide for yourself more, um, and so basically, to keep a long story short, I said that the best sort of age time period to be alive is ages 15 through 25. Um, what do you guys think is the best time to be alive in your lives?
I mean, I don't have any major qualms with your assumption. I think it's a pretty good period where you're not only independent but also freshly independent, and you have still that youthful vigor and tons of ideas and tons of energy and your whole life spread out in front of you. You could do anything you want, but as you mature, so I'd probably say more towards the later section of that, like not when you're 15, maybe closer to 25, when you're more mature, that you also have more of a capacity to follow things through. So not only do you have energy and ideas, but also perseverance and determination. Because I know my little brother, when he was a kid, he got super into drawing and super into writing things, but he never followed anything through. Polo?
Now, I would want to say, in contrast to that, I think 15 to 25 is a good, um, like, broad range. But in my opinion, I think it would be between 16 and 20. Now, why I exclude 15 is because I think just 15 is about that breaking point where you start realizing that you don't know everything, because I think as a child you have some like idea that you already know everything that there is to know, and then like after 20 you realize that you know absolutely nothing. No, I think in between those ages there's some like special kind of, I in my opinion I think there's a special like stage where you realize that you don't know everything, but you know some things. And that's when I think is the best time you like I think that's the best like time for your life, is when you don't really know.
Yeah, part of what I based it off of was that when you're in that age group, I know I said 15 to 25, and that was a pretty broad category. But part of what made me choose that was because when you're in that age group, not only do you have um, that ability to sort of decide what you want to do with your life and make your own choices and whatever. The older you get, the more choices you can make. But within that age group, you're sort of aware that you can do all that. Ideally, you're aware that you can, decide what you want to do with your life. So when you have that potential combined with an awareness of that, then I think that's the best time that you could be, you know, if you want to do something with your life. Obviously, the younger you are, the better. But I think if you're really young, like if you're in first grade, I remember, um, you know, when I was a kid, I didn't want to do what I want to do now. I think I wanted to be like a martial arts teacher or something. But I mean, I think in general, a lot of kids want to be these sort of um, idealized careers. And so as you get older, you sort of become a bit more realistic. Not that you lose an idealism, but that you just you change what you want to be based off of some other factors of your life. So that's what I think.
Exposure to different things. As a
Exactly.
child, you aren't exposed. You know, like, oh, police officers and firefighter and astronaut and doctor, and
Exactly.
that's it.
It's like when I was a kid, I didn't know. Well, I didn't really know exactly what a lawyer did, so I just wanted to be a martial arts teacher, and I thought that was the coolest thing you could do in the world because you get to, do martial arts all the
You
time.
get to kick stuff.
Exactly. But now, as I grew older, I went down I just went down the path of life, and I just decided that I wanted to do other things. I ended up.
Your life just took this horrible turn, and you didn't want to be a martial arts teacher anymore.
Yeah, it took a dark turn at in first grade when when it all came crashing down in my Ponzi scheme. But anyway, no, yeah. So like in like high school, I really started to decide what I wanted to do with my life, and I know I just graduated, and I'm talking like I'm 40 years old
Like
or
I'm,
something.
yeah. Grady has seen much of life in his short years.
Well, it's also from the Ponzi scheme,
I mean, Grady's already 18, so it's fine. He's an adult now.
I'm an adult, okay?
He can look back
he
in his
is
younger
an adult.
years.
But yeah, that's sort of what I base it off of. I mean, because I think when you get the older you get, the more you become a bit less independent because you sort of um, you decide what you want to do with your life, and so you get more responsibilities and stuff, and so um, I think it's almost like a bell curve of what the best time to be like what potential and freedom is almost like a bell curve, sort of, because then like the older you get, you also like as you get more consolidated with a career, obviously you'll make more money hypothetically, so you become more independent in that respect. But yeah,
part of it's also conceptually you become independent, and then using your independence, you choose what to become dependent on, and you choose where to tie yourself down.
mm-hmm. And yeah, and I think tie yourself down sort of has a negative connotation, but that's not really a bad thing.
Settle down, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good thing. In fact, in a lot of cases, to decide what you want to do with your life and stick with that, and that's a great thing. Of course, that's what people do with their lives. So, but yeah, I think 15 to 25. It's broad, but that's what I am sticking with because, I mean, yeah, I really believe that you become the most aware of what you can do. And I mean, I think about this is somewhat related, but I was thinking about world like Olympic athletes and how um, like I don't know how many of them as children wanted to be um, Olympic athletes only because I feel like to a certain extent it wasn't their choice. Some of the time, not all the time, um, but like some of them were just like before they could even be aware of what they wanted to do with their lives, they were already training for their sport. And I mean that isn't really inherently a bad thing, but I I don't know. It's somehow related to this topic. Yeah, I just think about how they like truly. I mean, if you really want to, in the most obvious definition, you have the most potential when you're born because you could do anything. Like you have no idea, you have no limitations when you're born. Like assuming you're a healthy uh, child. So
well, you're the most malleable when you're born. Like not in the sense of like a material being malleable, but like
yeah,
mentally.
like your
That's what I have to say.
personality.
Yeah.
I mean, the moment you've done nothing is the moment that you can do anything. I don't know. I just made that up. Maybe it'll be a proverb. Maybe it won't.
Yeah. I think, I don't know, I guess, like, I'm saying this and I just think about, I mean, I know a lot of people know what they want to do with their lives since, like, they're really young. So I'm not saying that your dreams only become serious once you're 15 years old. I'm just saying, I think, like, typically that's when it starts to materialize and, like, being serious. Because even before that, you go
It's
into
the
high
moment you can act on your dreams.
Yeah. I mean, and that can be as early as like middle school, because you can, choose to work really hard in middle school, and which will get you in higher classes in high school, and you get it. From that point forward, it's a long road. And I know a lot of people that have whatever they want to do with their lives, and they've been working towards that for years. I'm talking people that have graduated with us, um, obviously since before they were 15 years old. So, um, but I do think there still is that freedom, because even when you're like, for me, I'm still going to be doing like general ed when I'm 20. I mean, approximately. So, if I really wanted to change what I want to do with my life, I could still do that. I mean, so, and even if I do get my bachelor's in whatever I do, I mean, I'll still be pretty young, and it'll cost a lot of more money, but I could still change what I want to do with my life in my 20s. Now, if I became a lawyer, like, at that point I'd be like 26 or like 24, 25. At that point, it's a bit harder to say, "Oh, I want to change what I want to do with my life entirely," because I've devoted like 6 years to wanting to be a lawyer. So at that point, that's why I feel like it sort of drops off once you're like 25, because you become more consolidated with what you want to do with life.
Yeah, and I think back to the age range that I suggested, 16 to 20, I believe I said, is that I think like before 16, you had some sort of idea as to what you wanted to do in life. Like, you don't know what you would do, you just know what you want to be, right? Like, I wanted to be a scientist, which, as you all know, is the most vague thing you could ever say. Like, what type of scientist, you know? And
There's so many.
yeah, and then in that range, 16 to 20, I think, is when you think, oh, well, I can't be a scientist. You have to be a type of scientist. You have to decide, like, what am I, what type of science, 16 and 20 is when you can kind of decide that. But then after 20, like I might not to, uh, gonna try to stay humble here, but like I could graduate in 3. I'm probably gonna graduate like before I turn 21.
Polo's just ambitious like
And
that.
after you graduate, after you graduate, you can't change. Like, you can't decide. I mean, you can,
Mm-hmm.
but it's exponentially more difficult. From
Yeah.
16 to 20, it's very easy,
It's the golden
relatively.
years where everything is before you.
Yeah.
And I think I remember when I was, what you were saying about being a scientist. I can relate to that, because when I was in um, middle school, I didn't want to be a martial arts teacher anymore, but I wanted to be a historian. And like, the only reason I said that was because I liked history. I didn't even really know what that meant to be a historian. And so as I grew older, I was like, now I want to be a history teacher. And so I took classes accordingly, which it is what it is. But anyway, um, yeah, I definitely developed and sort of honed in on what I wanted to do from those age from those ages. And obviously I ended up changing what I wanted to do altogether, so that wouldn't even matter. But um, yeah, I definitely see what you're saying about sort of specifying what you want to do with your life, because I think a lot of jobs are just broad categories, and you have to
Yeah.
decide what you want to specialize in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember
Definitely.
when I was in middle school too. I decided that I wanted to be a scientist. And it was like, because I was pretty good at science. Like I got good grades in science, and I genuinely enjoyed the subject, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. And then as I grew older, I thought, well, you know what? I want to be a chemist. That'd be fun. And then I grew a little bit older, and I was like, you know what? I want to be a viral pathologist. That's good. I want to cure diseases. And then here I
Yeah.
am, something totally different. And it's just as we learn, as we go through life and we age and we get more experiences and we learn more, we become more of, I guess, a person in a sense. We decide, we know so much more, and we can decide so much more based on what we know. And it's those golden years. I know I've said it before, but it's those years where everything comes down to it. Generally, after high school and before college to partway through college, where you can choose what you want to do with your life.
And speaking of choosing what we want to do, I think it's best we choose to end our episode here. Thank you guys for listening to this episode. This was the Speak Easies, episode 12, I believe now. Thank you for listening. See you next time.